Hello, LaRita. Uh, for introducing myself, I'm Ken Stern, and I've been working with Third Path for a long time in different capacities, and now I'm working on this grandparent project, and we're interviewing interesting people with interesting situations who can talk about their relationship with a grandchild or grandchildren or any kind of multi-generational relationship. And we're creating a library so people who are interested in how things are done can tap into the library and get different ideas. And again, this is part of the Third Path Institute, which focuses on work-life balance and other related concerns, and been around for a long time. I've been associated with them for a long time. So, could you please introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is LaRita Campus. I am a grandparent of two, and I share co-parenting responsibilities for, I would say, tri-parenting responsibilities with one of my daughters. And the other is learning her way through her path, and I see her at a regular grandparent schedule. And I I'm happy to be here.
Fantastic. And so you say you have two different grandchildren. Are they
Yes.
in the same family unit or different family units?
They are separate family units. I have three children. My two daughters have children. I have one grandchild by my middle child that is 4 years old, and she lives with me. And I have another grandchild by my, no, the first one is by the youngest child. The second grandchild is by the middle child, and she is 7 months old now.
Okay. And which one would you like to talk about first?
Ah, well, the new one is fun to talk about. Penelope is awesome. She is the 7 month old. I have the opportunity to do the weekend sitting with her, the every now and then sitting when the parents want to go out. I believe it's a wonderful relationship. I love her as an addition to the family, and everyone else does too. So it was just great. She was a bigger connecting point for us.
And the younger child, the 4-year-old who lives with you, we'll come to that in a second. But with your middle child who has a 7-month-old, as she was pregnant, as the baby was born, did you have any conversations with her about what your role might be with this grandchild, knowing what it is with your other grandchild?
Yes, she actually had the expectation that the same thing would happen. That I would. She had different expectations. She had elevated expectations. It was what she assumed went on when she was not around. It were it was her ideas about how much her sister how much care her sister received from those around and how much she had to do for herself. So she had the assumption that she would have way more help than she is getting. But I wanted to make sure that she understand that it was her time to be a parent, just as I am trying to establish that with the younger child and the 4 year old. But it is her responsibility to be a parent and be there in the forefront so that the relationship dynamic can be established properly and her child can see her as the major authority figure in her life.
So you and your middle child had different expectations going into the birth of the 7-month-old.
Yes.
So how did you negotiate that with your middle child? How did you bring those expectations into balance? What was motivating you? You spoke to it a little bit, and what was her reaction when you wanted to sort of renegotiate her expectations?
Um, that's interesting. The initial reaction was a little anger. It was mild on her behalf. she did not understand the actual dynamic. She only understood the imagined. And so when we began having talks, it actually made things better for the two of us because she's a bit of a free spirit, but it opened up space for her to ask questions about how to be a better parent herself and how to step up to the plate and fill in those shoes for herself. So it was pretty good.
So it sounds like it was a good outcome that it opened up lines of communication and
Yes, but I think it was in setting those boundaries for myself
mhm,
as a grandparent.
mhm.
Sometimes we love to do a lot of things for our grandchildren, but we have to set boundaries. And with the second one around, I learned how to do that a little bit better.
Well, let's go to the first one then. Your 4-year-old, and you mentioned that she is um, the child of your youngest child, and she's 4 years old, and she lives with you.
Yeah.
So, um, can you talk about when she was born? What the expectations were, what the realities were, and how that's evolved over time.
That her learning of her conception was actually hard for me. I wasn't prepared to be a grandparent. Um, my daughter says, "You cried for 3 months, mom." And part of it was me reconciling with my expectations of what her life as a parent should be. And that was really interesting because that was a point of learning to let go. And it was rough because she was still in the home with me. So it wasn't just her expecting a baby, but it was us expecting a baby at that point. And I wasn't really ready to parent again.
Mhm.
So that was hard. But since Joy has been born, life has been just excellent. I learned to live again. I think I took on a little bit too much responsibility for her because um, I wanted to help her achieve her own expectations. She had expectations of being this super mom, of going to work and going to school and having time for her child. And in that, I took up a lot of that filler time
Mhm.
for her. And I realized that it did not give her the most grounded sense of reality and
Mhm.
adult ability.
Mhm.
So in that, I that's one of the reasons why I had to pivot with my with the second grandchild. But Joy has given me new life and allowed me to really look at living a healthier lifestyle, mind, body, soul, and spirit wise, because you want to pass on those type of traits and not your traits of stress or overwork.
And I might be reading into something this, and if so, please correct me. But it sounds like, when Joy is the 4-year-old, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So when Joy was born, you sort of felt like you didn't have a lot of options because your daughter was living with you, and this is what life presented, and it sounds like it had a momentum of its own.
Yes. Absolutely.
As an experienced grandmother and 4 years into this experiment or experience, as you look back on that, do you feel like you actually did have options, or is the way it played out the way it had to play out?
The way it played out is not the way that it had to play out. And I had there are lots of options. There are many grandparenting styles out there. There are people that choose to be involved or do not choose to be involved. There are some that tell their children, well, you're pregnant, you're on your own, go find your way.
Hmm.
Um, for me, I feel like that was the best option
Hmm.
out of all of them because we as families need support and family members need support. And so I think scaffolding the her ability to learn to parent was the healthiest option for my grandchild.
So as you look back on the situation today, and if things are rolled back, you what I'm hearing is you had options, but you still would choose the same option.
Yes, I would choose the same option, maybe with a little more structure. She would have to make realistic options. You can't do everything and think that that actually can get done. She watched me do a lot of things as a single parent, and she had the expectation that she would do the same. But I tried to explain to her, you don't want the relationship disconnects that we had to work out in our relationship. So you should not make the same choices.
So if you were advising somebody who was in the exact same situation that you were in 4 years ago, their daughter who lived with them was pregnant, based upon your experience with both children, and now being again an experienced grandmother, what advice would you give that person?
Um, I would say if you have the space in your home and you can provide that foundational structure for the child that does not seem to have grasped that foundational structure, um, to provide the space and definitely create healthy boundaries before you accept a responsibility. Um, find out how long you want to participate in that capacity. Actually plan out the type of grandparent that you see yourself as, and make sure that you set boundaries to walk towards that goal of a grandparent.
Fantastic. And my final question is, if you were one of the guest speakers at a grandparenting conference and someone asked you, LaRita, you know, on any subject, what advice would you give to grandparents and parents, particularly about their relationship between parent and grandparent and how to negotiate that? What advice would you give?
Allow your love to grow in so much as consider yourself, consider your children, consider your legacy, and act accordingly. There is no right decision, there is no wrong decision, but make sure you can make your decisions with love in your heart. And that way it always grows, no matter what it is.
Wonderful. And thank you so much. Any final word or that you want to add?
Um, grandparenting is awesome. It's great. Look at it as your legacy. This is a way for you to live on. I love seeing myself in my grandchildren. I love seeing my children in my grandchildren. I love having an opportunity to be a part of the parenting process and um, engaging with wisdom. The second time around, as a grandparent, is much easier than being a parent. And so offering that support to your children is invaluable.
Well, thank you so much. This has been so great and appreciate your time.
No problem. Thank you, Ken.